Finance FCT Minister moved to harmonize tax administration in Abuja. Nigeria Communications Commission Corporate Affairs Commission require approval for telecom share transfers. Asian stocks slip, oil up on peace doubts. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Let's begin by telling you that residents and businesses in the Federal Capital Territory may soon see relief from overlap in levies following an agreement between the Minister of Finance and Coordinator Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, and the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, to harmonize tax administration across the territory. The agreement, reached at a bilateral meeting between the two ministers, is designed to eliminate multiple taxation while optimizing revenue generation, in line with the new tax reform law now guiding fiscal policy nationwide. The meeting also reviewed the FCT's infrastructure renewal agenda, with Oyedele commending Wike's focus on completing previously abandoned projects to unlock value for residents. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, have directed telecommunications companies to obtain regulatory approval before carrying out share transfers or ownership changes involving 10% or more of their share capital. The agencies issued the directive in a joint statement signed by Inena Okoha, Director of Public Affairs, NCC, and Rashid Mahe, Head of Public Affairs, CAC. The agencies said any proposed transfer of ownership or control of shares amounting to 10% or more of the total share capital of an NCC licensed company must receive a letter of no objection from the NCC before the CAC can register such changes. The directive also applies to multiple share transfers that, when aggregated, exceed 10% of a licensee's total share capital. The agencies said the requirement is pursuant to the provisions of Section 90 of the Nigerian Communications Act 2003 and CAC 2003, Regulation 28 subsection 2 of the Competition Practices Regulations 2007. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group has urged Nigeria to strengthen quality assurance and certification systems, saying improved product standards are critical to boosting export competitiveness and increasing value from international trade. The group made this known in its latest foreign trade review. The group stated that while Nigeria recorded a strong trade surplus in the first quarter of 2026, structural weaknesses in the country's export ecosystem continue to limit its ability to fully capture value from international trade. According to the NESG, improving product quality standards, export certification processes, and port efficiency will be critical to reversing the trend and boosting non-oil exports. It's time for today's conversation, when we talk about Nigeria's primary economic alliances. And the raw numbers tell a compelling story. Now, the European Union stands as Nigeria's top institutional trading partner and a single largest source of foreign direct investment, with an active foreign direct investment stock exceeding 38 billion euros. But as Nigeria navigates a deep-seated fiscal reforms and an urgent push for industrial diversification, the nature of this partnership is shifting, moving away from traditional development and toward massive private sector-led investments under the EU's Global Gateway strategy. It is obvious that the Team Europe is heavily placing its bets on Nigeria's economic future, most especially agribusiness. But how do we move these high-level diplomatic agreements into functioning job-creating infrastructure on the ground? And what structural reforms must Nigeria guarantee to lock in this capital for the long overhaul? Now, joining us to unpack the cost and timeliness, as well as the focus on the agribusiness, we have Roland, Oroh, EU-Nigeria Agribusiness Platform. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you so much, Nigerians. Good afternoon.
Okay, beautiful. Now, to begin with, we often hear that, agriculture remains one of the most important sectors in Nigeria. But when we talk about issues of investment and economic growth, how important is agribusiness?
Yeah, so I think it's very important and it's very timely now. The government is trying to support diversification to non-oil export. The current trade balance between Nigeria and the European Union is in favor of Nigeria, but basically because we're exporting crude oil, gas, but now the focus is on non-oil export, and that will affect a lot of Nigerians because, like agriculture accommodates a large chunk of our population. But the discussion now is to move from just farming to all of the supply chain, agribusiness, basically. So you're looking at value addition, you're looking at logistics, compliance and all of that. So that will really help creating more jobs and expanding our revenue base. And the EU, the European Union, for proximity case, we're closer to the EU than most other major markets, so I think this is a good opportunity for Nigeria to put our acts together in terms of, meeting some of the compliance requirements that is needed, for us to access the EU market.
Okay, tell us about the EU-Nigeria agribusiness platform.
So this is the European Union Nigeria Agribusiness Platform was initiated sometime 2022 by the African Ministers of Agriculture and the European Ministers of Agriculture to sort of have a digital platform that creates stronger linkages between SMEs in Europe and SMEs in Africa. And to date, Nigeria has taken the lead to have this platform with support from the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS. They've provided initial grant support under the Global Gateway grant framework, and I think Ghana also have similar platforms. So basically, the platform is to expand trade and investment between Nigeria and the 27 EU member states. Looking at private sector issues, addressing the information gap that exists and addressing the technical barriers to trade so that we can access those markets. So the platform has been in existence. It's managed by a private sector entity called Agribusiness Register Limited, which we own. But it has a governance system that includes the federal government, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, co-chaired by the EUD, that's the European Union delegation in Nigeria, and then you have other members of the governing structure, which includes the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, the National Planning, and the private sector, NASIMA and the European Chamber in Nigeria. So that sort of framework, allows us to work with the private sector, to support the private sector, to be able to put up, bankable proposals, to access EU funding window that is coming to support Nigerian SMEs.
Okay. I understand that the Nigeria EU Business Forum takes place this week.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities there for agribusiness entrepreneurs?
Yes, so this is a biennial program. It's the highest level economic diplomacy between Nigeria and the European Union. So this happens once in 2 years. So this year is taking place in Lagos this week. But on the sideline of the this business forum, we're going to be having an agribusiness, business-to-business, matchmaking activity, as well as a business-to-finance, activity. And I think this is a very good opportunity. And I'm really impressed with the amount of, the appetite for Nigerians. We have about over 400 registrations with indications to participate in the B2B. So we're going to see, potential buyers from the EU side. We're going to see service providers, technology providers from the EU coming, into this B2B session to engage with, Nigerian SMEs who are looking for off-takers for their produce. The EU market, by the way, is tier 1 market. It's competitive, it's stringent. So people need to organize themselves, into cooperatives and maybe corporate organizations also that are interested in diversifying into agriculture and into exportation as well. So we're going to be having, we have an AI matchmaking tool to match expression of interest to participate in the B2B. So it's going to be very structured meetings of, producers, suppliers, exporters, engaging with their counterparts from the European Union side, and then, striking deals, like a deal room, sort of strike deals. And then, of course, there will be the business to finance, component of it. The European Union is providing capital to Nigerian opportunities. So we're hoping to see some Nigerian projects, get funded. Interestingly, there's going to be the investment wall. Investment wall, basically, it's a showcase of investment projects from Nigerian SMEs, seeking funding or seeking funding investment partners. So all of this will be happening on the sidelines of the major, the EU-Nigerian Business Forum, which comes up on the 25th in Lagos.
Now, we often hear about the European Union's global gateway strategy. From an agribusiness perspective, what opportunity does it create for Nigerian businesses? Oh,
yes. So the EU Global Gateway framework is not an aid. It's a commercial partnership, and it's a commitment of the European Union of up to about 300 billion euros to support developing countries, in terms of accessing investment capital for their projects, infrastructure projects and investment projects. And agribusiness sits at the middle of that. So our platform is already a beneficiary of the European Union Global Gateway strategy. And of course, under that as well, the funding from the European Investment Bank, there are commitments already made. There's 85 million euros for cocoa and another 85 million euros for the dairy sector in Nigeria. So these funds are already in country through local banks, and these banks will be on ground on the 25th, to engage with SMEs. So I want to use the opportunity to call on SMEs that have not registered for the B2B sessions to do that. I go to the platform, the website, the event website, register your interest, and participate, get information, you will meet with representatives from the European Investment Bank and their local bank partners to sort of get more information on how you can access this funding. Yeah, thank you.
You know, many small businesses often struggle with the issue of access to capital and market as well. How is the EU NAB helping to bridge that gap?
Yeah, so that's why we're set up, you know, to bridge the gap, you know, the information gap. Now, the truth is, as single or, you know, small actors, they may not be able to access the EU markets because the market requires some level of volume. It requires, you know, compliance with, you know, traceability, you know, systems, you know. So we encourage, you know, people to form themselves into cooperatives, and as well as have, you know.
So what does it take to access the EU market?
Sorry?
What does it take to access the EU market?
Yeah, so I mean, the market is there. I mean, if in terms of product, cocoa, we are doing about $1.9 billion of cocoa export to the EU market. So we're already in the market. Sesame seed, we're number one in the EU market. But there are other opportunities. But the market is, I mean, now with the EUDR deadline coming up 30th of December, if you don't have proof that your product has deforestation-free evidence, then you may not be able to access the market. So these are some of the requirements that are needed, you know, and of course...
You talk about the size will not be able to, I mean, they won't be given opportunity to access the market looking at their size. That's why they need to form cooperative.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, how much a size are we talking about for you to be able to access the EU market?
To form into a cooperative, you mean?
When you form a cooperative,
yeah,
what are you expected, as talking about scale? Yeah. Your scale. How much are we talking about that will enable you access the EU market?
Yeah, okay, so it varies and it depends on the product sector you are in. For instance, your buyer may want a container load every month, right? So you need to have that capacity to be able to produce in that quantity and then meet up with the specific requirements. So it's not cast in stone, it's not fixed. It depends on the product, depends on the off-taker you're dealing with. There are a couple of big Nigerian companies that are doing you know, $22 million of export of cocoa beans, you know, cocoa value-added products, you know. So it really depends on the specific opportunity that you have, you know, per time, you know. So it varies. But the point I'm making is that, look, the market requires some level of volume. So you need to have some kind of, you know, capitalization to be able to assess, you know, the opportunities that are available on the EU side. We're tracking the markets. For instance, let me give you a practical example. In 2024, the EU imported a total of $91 billion of products, about 36 products that we are tracking. And Nigeria has capacity to produce most of those 36 products, even though we're not in the EU market for many of them. But our share of that 91 billion is about $4.2 billion. So the plan now is working with government. How can we expand our exportation from 4.2 to 10.2 over the next 5 years, putting together all the potentials that we have, you know. So those are some of the areas that I think that from this business forum, we're going to be unlocking them and moving forward, bringing, you know, SMEs from Europe, SMEs from Nigeria, working together, you know, through this B2B matchmaking event, and then the follow-on activities that goes on, you know, to consummate some of the commitments that will be made from this week.
Okay. Roland, Oroh, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Now let's head to other stories. Global coffee prices are no longer at their peak. This is according to data from the International Coffee Organization, ICO. Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. Nigeria's stock shed 9 trillion naira as June rout deepens. Details with Oroh on how the market fared last week.
The NGX All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 3.59% to close the week at 235,941.27 basis points and 151.327 trillion naira. A total turnover of 3.075 billion shares worth 254.614 billion naira in 287,157 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 2.074 billion shares valued at 64.490 billion naira in 121,981 deals, contributing 67.44% and 25.33% to the total equity turnover in volume and value. The services industry followed with 175.743 million shares worth 2.759 billion naira in 19,590 deals, while the third place, the consumer goods industry, had a turnover of 133.375 million shares worth 12.680 billion naira in 30,730 deals. Trading in the top three equities, Access Holdings, Sterling Financial Holdings Company, and Jais Bank PLC accounted for 819.234 million shares worth 12.247 billion naira in 21,809 deals. A total of 3.625 million units of exchange-traded products valued at 739.290 million naira were traded in 7,119 deals. For bonds, a total of 151,573 units valued at 160.590 million naira were traded in 34 deals. On summary of price changes, 11 equities appreciated, 78 equities depreciated, while 57 equities remained unchanged. Business Express.
Now, we'll share market sleep in Asia on Monday has doubts about the Middle East peace process and oil prices and bond yields up again, leading investors to price in more risk of higher U.S. interest rates. Maria Adu-Zakari is standing by with Global Stocks update.
Thank you, Mosan. Let's begin with European markets, where a majority of regional sectors were trading lower, with retail stocks and construction names leading losses. Germany's DAX dipped 0.04%. We have the FTSE of the CAC of France down 0.49%, while on the other side we have FTSE, which was up 0.41%. Asia markets closed mixed. We have Japan's Nikkei 225 hitting new record high. Also, shares of Korean Air fell more than 3% after it reportedly said the integration costs for its unit, Asiana, could reach 1 trillion won. The figures showed that the Nikkei 225 jumped 1.55% at 72,353. We have the Shanghai Composite of mainland China up 1.78% at 4,163. And we have the Hang Seng Index of Hong Kong, which was down 0.65% at 23,768. In the U.S., we have S&P 500 futures, which were little changing as Wall Street assessed the latest developments in the Iran war negotiations and awaits the release of inflation data closely watched by the Federal Reserve. The figures show that the Dow topped 0.01%. We have the Nasdaq Composite also topping 0.09% higher, while the S&P 500 dropped 0.10%. Now to Africa, markets begin the new trading week on a positive note. South Africa JSE to 40 was higher by 0.14%. Kenya jumps 0.64%. We have Tunisia to index following at 0.43%, and Ghana reflecting other figures at 0.35% higher, while we have Namibia all-share index down 0.01%. And that's a snapshot of global market for Monday. I am Maria Adu-Zakari. It's back to you, Musa.
Thank you, Maria, for that update. This is where we end today's edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTF's channel. Business Express returns on Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar. Thanks for your company.